door.
That's her. That's her keys.
Is it?
Yeah.
Look at here. Are you ready? Yes. Very good, very good. Good evening and welcome to the Conway City Council meeting for this evening. Mayor Tab Townsell is out of town representing us in another community this evening, so I'll be sitting in as the acting head of the meeting tonight, not acting mayor, but anyway. Before every meeting, we do start with a word of prayer and a pledge of allegiance, and I would invite you to join me at this time for both of those. Ms. Whitmore, would you lead us in prayer?
If you'll bow with me. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for the blessings that you've given us. We just ask, Lord, that you lead us and guide us in the way that you would have us to go as we are stewards of this community that you have graciously blessed us with. We ask, Lord, that everything that we see and everything that we say and do will be pleasing in your sight, and it's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ms. Whitmore, and thank you, everyone, for standing with us this evening. Mr. City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Sure will. Mr. Hawkins?
Here.
Mr. Grimes?
Here.
Mr. Pruitt? Here. Miss Mel?
Here.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Here.
Miss Smith?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Miss Whitmore?
Here.
All right, we have a good gathering, except for the mayor, who's not here this evening. Our first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of February 23rd. They've been submitted to you. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second for approval of the minutes. Any discussion on that?
Just note that I hope that's with the approval of the amended ones that were sent out.
Second.
And that is to represent the amended minutes that were sent out. Thank you, Ms. Whitmore. All in favor of approving the minutes, the revised minutes, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed? And that passes 8-0. Our first item on the agenda tonight is consideration to terminate the helipad easement agreement with Conway Community Services. This was a piece of property that Baptist Hospital had asked us to enter into an agreement with them on, and we did so, and then the helipad was not approved, apparently.
The grant.
Or the grant that they were applying for. Thank you very much. The grant that they were applying for was not approved, so this property will revert back to its original owner. So
I'll make a motion for the termination of the agreement.
have a motion and a second to terminate that agreement. Is there any discussion on termination of that agreement? Then all in favor of terminating that agreement with Conway Community Services, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And that passes 8-0. The next item on our agenda is consideration to approve a counteroffer on the Newberry Track Number 4 property acquisition for the Central Landing Boulevard project. And do we have someone here that would like to talk about this? Go right ahead, sir. And if you'd state your name and address when you get to the podium, we would appreciate it.
First thing I'd like to say is I'd ask the council to reconsider the last offer. I had a couple of things I put out, and I don't know if you looked at them or not, but I'm asking for less than we got down to Knights of Columbus per foot. And we got paid for our trees down there and no strings attached. And that's all I'm asking for. I'm asking for less for the footage and no strings on the trees. And I think it's a very fair offer because my loss will be great on that lot. And you take a 3/4 lot, don't sell very good in the future. And it'll have 150 foot, two directions, one up First Avenue and another down 6th Street that you can't get on the street. So it's damaging to my property, really. And it's just not a good deal for the lot at all. It will be worth what it ought to be worth. And that's just about all I have to say. I just like to get what my neighbors got for theirs. In fact, I'm asking for a little less than what they got.
Very good, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you
Sir,
very much.
could you state your name and address?
They need your name and address.
For the record.
If you just tell us.
In the mic,
It-
in the microphone. Yeah.
Yes, sir, Mr. Newberry.
My name is Glendon L. Newberry. I'm the owner of the property. It's a Newberry Family Trust. It's in the Newberry Family Trust. My address is 21 Highway 36, Conway, Arkansas, 72032.
Very good. That's
Yep.
what we needed. Thank you, Mr. Newberry.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Any other question I might ask?
You might hold close for a little bit in case somebody, hold on for just a minute, maybe somebody will have some questions for you. I'm going to see if Mr. Vinson would like to speak in the back of the room, Mr. Finley Vinson, our city engineer.
I'm hard of hearing, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I couldn't understand you.
I'm sorry.
If you want to go ahead and have a seat, and we'll let you know if we have any more questions for you. Thank you, sir.
Can you state your name for the
I get that a lot. It's been a good day. It's been a good day. I think if you look at A2 in your packet, that is the summarization of what Mr. Newberry is asking for. Initially, he asked for $4 a square foot. The initial appraisal was for $2 a square foot. And he's now, the council at the last meeting agreed to give him $2.50. He's now asking for $3. And then he, in addition, is asking for, he's questioning why why he will only get the replacement value for the trees if he actually puts the trees in when other property owners have been given a check. And I'm going to direct that question to Chuck. He actually addressed that question in the last meeting, but if you guys want him to repeat himself, I'm sure he'd be willing. And if you have any, I'll talk all you want me to about the per square foot price, but that's summary, so I'll just leave it to questions at that point.
Very good. Chuck, would you like to address the point?
As far as the tree reimbursement,
As far as this entire purchase, if you don't mind.
well, first off, I think there was some mention of other neighbors being paid the $3.50 a square foot. I'm not sure about that.
I'll speak to that. I know that the only one that comes to mind is Knights of Columbus, and I hope you'll forgive me. I can't remember what that one was a little bit strange. That property had not been platted, so the actual deed for that property went all the way to the center line of the road. And that was, and our normal practice has been that since they legally own to the center line of the road, we pay for the property to the center line of the road, which is not the case here. But in that case, we offered them $3 a square foot, which was a counteroffer, to the center line of the road. They wanted $3.50, so we agreed to pay them $3.50 of their usable property. So we decreased the square footage and increased the value. And it ended up kind of being a wash, but they liked the $3.50 number, so that was what they approved. Slightly different scenario, but they were paid $3.50 a square foot.
Very good.
And they did agree, kind of, I guess not via written down, but they said that they're going to replace the trees and replace the fence, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and as far as that's concerned, that's an issue that Finley and I have been in conversations about pretty regularly since kind of all this construction got kicked up. And basically, it's just a negotiation issue. This is a contractual, kind of relationship that we're creating here. We can negotiate the terms how we see fit. I feel it's just better practice to do that, to make sure that we're, getting what we pay for in essence. And, if he replaces the trees up to that dollar amount, then it'll be reimbursed to him. But otherwise, instead of just cutting a check, and we just hadn't had the benefit of kind of working that process out and how exactly to put that down into writing, basically reduce it in writing, at the point when we decided to do that with Knights of Columbus.
Yeah.
Now I think that with Finley and I discussing kind of the matter, we've got a process for that, and I really believe it's the best way to move forward.
And I would agree. If we're going to pay for things other than just land, if we're going to pay for replacement of a shed or a new fence or trees, we need to make sure we're getting what we pay for. Otherwise, we don't need to pay for it. So generally, I agree with that principle as well. So would you suggest we just reject this and let y'all negotiate more, or what should we do? Or just reject it flat out, or just?
I think that based on what we've done in the past, this is pretty much in line as far as the price per square foot for the property. Also reimburse them for the fence that's going to be taken down. And then with the condition of the trees, I think, like I said, fairness is obviously in the eye of the beholder, but it seems to be in line with what the council has done in the past with these items.
So you're okay with the $3 per square foot?
I'm okay with the
Counteroffer?
250. Basically, you don't get this.
He's asking for 3.
He's asking for 3, I understand that, but the 250 is over and
Right.
above what the appraised value is, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And
So-
our increase in what our counter that we've
Okay.
approved already seems to be in line with what we've done.
So you would recommend we reject his counter of $3?
That's what, yes. Yeah.
Well, okay, all right.
I'm just saying this seems to be in line with what we do. I don't want to say that we reject or whatever.
Well, then I will make a motion, we reject the counter offer and go with the city's original offer.
We have a motion and second on the floor to reject the counteroffer and would that be to hold fast to our $2.50 offer? Okay. That's the motion and the second on the floor. Any discussion or any further discussion?
See, I wasn't here last week, so I don't really know what things going on.
We got one appraisal, and this has been our process for this whole, for all the properties that we've acquired for this project. We've gotten one appraisal, and then there's been another appraiser that has reviewed the appraisal, which is not going to be the process for further projects moving forward. Chuck and I have already agreed that on future projects, we're going to get 2 appraisals, but that was not the process that we established at the beginning of this project. We have paid more in some cases, and I think it's partially because of the fact that we only got one appraisal. Some of the other properties where we negotiated for more were able to get additional appraisals. I suggested to O.R. Colin that she communicate to Mr. Newberry that if he got another appraisal, that it might help him out. And her response was accurate, that for what he's asking, it's financially doesn't make sense for him to get a new appraisal. So that's why he's just playing his cards, the cards he has at this point.
I got you. Very good. How important is this that we move on this piece of property, Finley? Is this holding anything up at this point in time? Do we need?
No, not really. All the construction's on the south side of 6th Street, and this is the north side of 6th Street. So we can wait if we need to. It's just a question of
Okay.
whether or not we're going to try to come to a resolution or condemn, I believe. Is that correct, Chuck?
And that was the reason for the question, to see if we needed to go
Yeah.
ahead and
Yeah.
And, if need be, we can still go ahead and the council can approve my action to condemn the property, and then we can still have discussions with Mr. Newberry, but
Yes.
if need be, because the process seems to be taken with the circuit court docket kind of getting congested these days. It's taking a little bit longer to get some of these signed and approved, so that may be a resolution that'll be in front of you at the next meeting.
Okay. Very good.
And with this acquisition and any acquisition, whether it be with central landing or anything else, I mean, and this should go without saying, I don't mind paying what's fair at all. I mean, if it's more than what we offer, if it's less than what we offer, I don't mind paying what's fair at all, but we have to have good justification for paying, more than what an appraiser has told us it's really worth, and so we have to be careful about doing that, so.
Absolutely, and I definitely caution you about paying over the appraised value price. The law only requires just compensation in when you exercise your police powers in these type of circumstances. And if we get into a situation or a habit where anyway, we'll have a track record of paying more than appraised value. So as moving forward, like Finley said, we're going to get 2 appraisals, and we'll start talking about those circumstances coming up. But this one, I feel fairly confident in the process because we had a licensed certified appraiser go out, look at the property, and then his or her methods were reviewed by another appraiser. So.
Well, and I think it's also important to note, too, while I understand Mr. Newberry may have some issues with his hearing, I don't know if the gentleman with him can explain to him the procedure where this situation is very different, where we offered a different price or agreed to a different price with the Knights of Columbus as well. So we're not comparing apples to apples in this situation.
Any other comments? We have a motion on.
We're already paying 25% over appraised value anyway.
That's correct.
Very good.
I mean, is that right?
That is correct. The appraised value is for $2 a square foot.
And we've had some of these properties we agreed to pay. There was the church is one that comes to mind, and I think the funeral home, both the church and the funeral home agreed to the appraised value that we offered them. We've had other properties where we've gone up to as much as 50% more. So this kind of splits the difference between the norms, I suppose.
Very good. The motion on the floor is to reject the counteroffer made by Mr. Newberry, and the second is for that. Any other discussion?
The only thing that I would want to make clear, I guess, in the motion and to Mr. Newberry, that our offer is still on the table. Just because we're rejecting his counter doesn't mean that our offer is still extended to him. I don't know if a time period was put on that in the correspondence that he received, but I want to make sure he can still accept our offer as it stands, if this motion passes.
I don't think there was a time limit given in the letter, but I will just lean on O.R. Cullen and Associates to determine, to proceed with communication and determine whether or not the offer is accepted.
All right. We do again have a motion and second on the floor to reject the counteroffer. All in favor of rejecting the counteroffer from the Newberry family, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And that would be 8-0. Thank you, Mr. Vinson.
Yes, sir.
You vote.
Next item is an ordinance adopting by reference the City of Conway Airport Height and Land Use Zoning Overlay District. And my note here, Chuck, says you're going to go over this for me.
I'm back up again.
Thank
Council, this was an issue that we took up on a special council meeting back in, I guess, early February. It was brought to my attention that there were some different designations of the runways that had been changed not since, but it actually happened prior to us adopting that new overlay district. I felt it appropriate that we go ahead and make that change since it was brought to our attention, because I think they're fairly important in how these runways are categorized and designated based on things that I don't really understand. But anyway, we made that change, and also we determined that based on a statute that I was able to determine that we need some notification requirements that we have now met thanks to our city clerk. Those have now been met, and the changes made to the runways, so I would ask that you adopt this as amended.
Very good. City Attorney has weighed in. Do we have a motion for this?
Make a motion that we waive the 3 readings.
Motion and second to waive the 3 readings. All in favor of waiving the readings signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Move for adoption.
We have a motion and second for the adoption of the
Is this
ordinance.
emergency?
Let's
Yes.
see.
Yes.
There is an
Everybody-
emergency.
And the emergency clause.
And the emergency clause and the second. Any discussion? Chuck has laid this out fairly well for us. I'm so glad you got out of Little Rock in time.
Me too.
Very good. Since it is an ordinance, Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Pruitt?
Aye.
Ms. Whitmore?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
What number is this?
It'd be 01621.
Thank you.
1621. And by the way, that was the community development planning of the meeting, or portion of the meeting. Our next portion of the meeting is Public Service Committee. And first up is consideration to allow the Faulkner County Solid Waste Management District to construct a storage building on the grounds of the Sanitation Department. And Mr. Hopper, would you like to come up? That's me. Mr. Bell, would you like to come up? I'm sorry.
No problem. This is just a request from the Faulkner County Solid Waste Management District to put a small storage building on the property out at the landfill behind the MRF to put electronic waste. The district's going to start doing countywide electronic waste drives on a regular basis, and this will be able to store those till we can dispose of them. There'll be no cost to the city, and this has been a good partnership between these two organizations.
Make a motion to approve to allow this RA2C.
Second.
Have a motion and second to allow the construction of this storage building. Any discussion? And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes 8-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Bell, thank you very much. Next item is an ordinance to waive the competitive bid process to repair the landfill compactor at the Sanitation Department. And Mr. Hopper, I bet you're going to come up and talk this time.
Sir.
Thank you, sir.
We had a pretty catastrophic failure on our only landfill compactor a couple of weeks ago, and well, just so you know, we do have plans this year to purchase a new unit, so we'll have a backup. But right now we're struggling. We're using a bulldozer to provide our compaction, which causes some pretty major issues.
Very good.
Make a
And
motion to waive the readings.
Second.
we have a motion and second to waive the readings of the ordinance. All in favor of waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance along with the emergency clause.
And now we have a motion and second in favor of the ordinance to waive the competitive bid process. Any discussion? Mr. Hopper, I'd like to ask, what kind of money are we talking about to replace this piece of equipment or to get a new piece of equipment?
Well, we've got budgeted for $750,000. That's a medium-sized unit, a little larger than what we have now. We're using about I think it's around a 50,000 pound machine. And if we can, or no, I'm sorry, it's around 75,000. If we can accommodate a little larger machine, I believe we'll get a little much better compaction and just more efficiency, a better compaction ratio.
Did you say that we would keep the other, or the
Yes.
one that we have now, and repair
Absolutely.
it and have it as a
Yeah,
backup?
when we're using bulldozers, it really causes some issues with tearing up the material. I mean, the compactors are made to rip it to shreds basically, and make densify the material. So, with the bulldozers, they just float over it, and right now it's really crucial. We're working on some outside slopes for the vertical expansion. I think that you guys approved back in 2013. So.
Are you wanting to use the same company that our other compactor?
Not necessarily. I mean, we're looking at different options. Going up in size, we're really researching different units. So.
Is there any reason that you want to waive the bid process if you're looking at something?
For the repair?
Oh, just for the repair?
Oh, no, this is just for
sorry.
the repair.
My fault. My fault. Any other questions, comments? Then Mr. Garrett?
Okay, this will be ordinance 01622. Ms. Whitmore?
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Pruitt? Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
And Ms. Mel?
Hopper, I'm sorry to throw scare at you.
No, you're fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to public safety, we have consideration to approve the school resource officer contract with Conway Public Schools. And Chief, welcome.
Good evening. This is an annual agreement that the city enters into with the Conway School District to provide 8 total school resource officers to our school district, one of those being the sergeant. There may have been a little bit of confusion with this due to the timing. This actually should have been done back in probably July of last year. We just now recognize that the agreement was not signed, so we're bringing it before the council to take care of tonight. I do have, on my copy anyway, you have to look at your copy, a little error. Number 2, under consideration, the very last line, that date should actually say July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016. I don't know if your copy says that or not, but I know that mine is like that.
This is July.
But there's nothing that's changed. It's the same agreement that we've always had with the school district, and it's the exact same with the exception of the dates.
I'll make a motion, we approve this contract.
Second.
Motion and second to approve this contract for resource officer with Conway Public Schools. Any discussion?
So I guess you'll bring another one to us in July for next year.
Yes, we should be back in about 4 months with the new one.
Any further discussion? Then all in favor of approving this contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes 8-0. And the final item that I have on the agenda this evening is under new business, and it's a resolution setting a public hearing to discuss a mosquito abatement program for the city.
I know more about
Mr.
mosquitoes.
Castleberry?
I know more about mosquitoes than I ever thought I would.
You should have grown up in Lake Village, Mr. Castleberry. I can show you about a mosquito.
We started working about a month ago on the possibility of
I think we got those.
Lawson's office, some of our ordinances in the city concerning, standing water in various areas, swimming pools that are no longer used, things like that. And we have a meeting this Friday in Mr. Clausen's office and the tire businesses in Conway, because that's one of our biggest concerns is standing water in tires. And so we're going to meet with those folks and see if we can come up with a good solution. Some of the businesses in Conway, tire business in Conway, have already built storage facilities that's going to put the tires in the dry, but that's something we're going to work with them. What we're asking you to do tonight is ask for your reading. We have vetted both of these companies. Thank you. And we would like to ask for y'all to set a public hearing so that the public can come out and ask questions. Both of these companies will be glad to show up and explain anything to the citizens of Conway about what it is they're spraying, what effects it could have, and if they have any concerns, they'll be able to voice those opinions and ask the questions and get a good, solid answer from them. Right now, we're just kind of in a hold pattern on this. We're just trying to be prepared should it become a problem. Right now, there's a lot of things that would have to fall in place for it to become a real problem here in Arkansas. But the CDC, as well as the Arkansas Municipal League, is asking everyone to be proactive. So that's what we're trying to do. So we're asking y'all to set a public hearing for this.
Bart, when do you want to set that for?
I think the mayor has given a date.
March 22nd of this year, so that would just a couple of weeks away.
Yeah, next meeting.
March 22nd. And
Make a
that's
motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
motion and second to approve the resolution setting the public hearing on March 22nd of this year at 6:30. And the meeting will be here at the Jack Roberts District Court Building.
And
6:30?
6:30. Yes.
On Tuesday.
And in the meantime, if you have any questions, you can call either myself, Kim, or Missy. We've all been going through a lot of training on Zika. It's actually very interesting. We know a little bit about West Nile too. So if you have any questions, give us a call. If we don't have the answer, we'll put you in the right direction. Thank
Knowledge
you.
is a dangerous thing.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yes.
If this is going to be a full-blown discussion, don't you think we should have it before the council meeting?
This is not a council meeting night, I don't think, is it?
22nd is.
Is it? I'm sorry. I was counting wrong nights then.
It'll be the 5:30 meeting.
That's what I'm
2
saying.
weeks.
That's what I'm saying. He said 6:30, that's what I said.
That's what it
does
says on
say
here is
6:30.
6:30.
Public hearing would be held.
Well, the public
during the
hearing would
meeting.
be
There's
at a
not
council
going to be a
meeting.
committee meeting.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I'm going to be out of town that night. I'm going to be out of town.
I will too.
That is spring break. I'm going to be
So,
gone
I'm
too,
out.
actually. So we'll probably have to reschedule that whole meeting.
I'm out.
I'll be here.
You're out.
I'll be here.
I'm gone, yeah.
Us three are gone.
gone.
So we don't have a-
Y'all going
Won't
somewhere
have a-
together?
Change the meeting, Tab's not here.
Well, let's have Felicia coordinate all
Hey, I
that.
don't
Yeah.
care. That's
Yeah.
fine with me if we move it back around one to two.
Jeanette, we might want to put a different date in the newspaper to let everybody know, and we'll put it on the city's website to also let people know and what date that is actually going to be held. Right now, tentatively, it's set for the 22nd.
Maybe we should set this public hearing for the first one in April, just to be, so we don't have to.
Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, I don't think it's dire.
Okay.
I think scooting back, that's not gonna be a
Does
problem.
somebody have a,
I'm not-
Date?
Well, I
A
can
date.
make an amendment to the motion to set it for.
April 12th?
Is that what it is?
April 12th. How about that? Would that be okay?
It's actually the 11th.
Is April 12th okay with everybody? Is April 12th okay with you?
It works with me.
Jeanette, we'll make it April 12th then, if that's okay. Very good.
Thank
So
you.
we'll change that to April 12th, 2016 at 6:30. That'll be the first city council meeting in the month of April. Any other discussion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Well, we got to pass this first, I think.
Yes, R1608.
Yeah, it's R1608. All in favor of passing this resolution, setting the public hearing for that day in April, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Very good. Ms. Smith, I'll entertain that now.
Second.
And we are adjourned. Thank you very much at home. Thank you very much here.
Excellent job.
Record time.
Oh, you do?
I always have Felicia give me short ones.
I know.